Hey, mahal everyone. Welcome back again to the Broadway Saiyan YouTube channel. I am your host, 40, and we are back with another video on the global version of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the next upcoming Lost Chapters featuring Snow, who's going to be returning to us permanently in the global version of Opera Omnia. So Snow returns to global. He is now available permanently, and he also awakens with this release. So he's going to be getting his level 60 awakening, as well as his crystal passives going all the way up to level 60. We're also going to be getting his level 100 difficulty available in the hard mode of his Lost Chapters, where we fight against the aggressive turtle. So this turtle is back to rumble with us in Dissidia Opera Omnia. And then Firion and Penelo are going to be accompanying Snow as synergy characters, and as far as the weaponing summoning banner goes, it's going to be featuring Snow, Firion, and Penelo. So a little bit of a deeper dive into Snow's level 60 awakening. So he can now be leveled to level 60 again, like we mentioned, alongside his crystal passives. His crystal passive level 54 is called Buff Attack and Boost Up. So whenever he's buffed, he gets a 60% attack and max brave up while he's buffed. And for a CP cost of 5, that is amazing value right there, because Snow's base attack stat is just average, but with this really helps him, at least for a tank, be able to deal enough brave damage to possibly score a brave break, and also to cap out his max brave up, so his max brave, so that way he can deal more HP damage. His crystal passive level 55 is going to be buffing up his steel guard called Steel Guard Extend. So now that provoke is going to be applied to all enemy targets. So he now has an AoE provoke, which currently right now we don't have a tank in global that does this. His brave gain that he gives to himself, which is essentially like a self-brave battery, is now based on 200% of his initial brave, which is a very high brave multiplier for a percentage. And then his brave reduction shield is now at a minus 50% reduction for all types of brave damage that Snow sustains, and every time he is hit, the increase now to that reduction is plus 5%, so it's actually going to be increasing it by 10%. And remember, with his gear and his passives, this brave reduction shield lasts for 10 turns, and it is a unique buff to Snow, so that's really powerful. And he now also grants himself a brave regen based on 100% of his initial brave for 10 turns. CP cost is 15, and this is going to be the CP cost moving forward with all 55 and 60 passives. His crystal passive level 58 is called Brave Boost. He gets an additional 40% max brave up as long as his HP is greater than 50%. Very good, especially for a CP cost of 5. And finally, his crystal passive level 60 Frost Strike Extend is going to be increasing the overall brave damage modifier of this ability to 200%, which is not bad considering that he is a tank, he's not a damage dealer. And then his Brave Recovery is now based on 30% of the HP damage that he deals with this ability. And now he also recovers his HP based on 20% of the HP damage that he deals. So not only does he self-sustain his brave with this ability now, but he also self-sustains his HP. So he has a way to keep himself alive. So very good passives for this type of a tank that Snow is. Snow good. So Snow good or not good? So for this, I'm actually going to be comparing him to Warrior of Light, because Warrior of Light is our current level 60 tank right now in global. So if we compare their base brave damage modifiers with their passives for both of their damage dealing abilities, we see that Snow's Frost Strike is at 200%, whereas Warrior of Light's Throw Buckler is actually a little bit better by 220%. However, keep in mind that Snow has that level 54 passive now, where he gets a 60% attack up as long as he's buffed. Warrior of Light has something similar, however his is only at 40%, so damage-wise they kind of even each other out when it comes to brave damage. Now Snow versus Warrior of Light in provoking. So now Snow has an AoE provoke, whereas Warrior of Light still only provokes a target one by one with his Throw Buckler. However, at least Warrior of Light still gives himself a shield, but that AoE provoke, as far as being a tank, is very useful for Snow. And then Snow versus Warrior of Light when it comes to tanking differences. So the difference between these two is that Snow lacks a shield that absorbs damage, not prevents, pretty much absorbs damage. However, his Brave Reduction Shield mitigates all brave damage by a specific percentage and only continuously gets stronger as long as he's hit. And this shield, compared to Warrior of Light, only has one variable, which is just it being turn-based. Warrior of Light's shield is not only turn-based, but it's also based on another variable, which is the value, because it's based on his initial brave when he gives himself the shield. So it's either it's going to run out based on the turn turns, or if the targets or the enemy targets continuously attack Warrior of Light and actually depletes that shield's value. So there's a difference there between those two shields, whereas Snow's actually last a lot longer. And then Snow lacks support for the party because he's the type of tank that actually only focuses on sustaining himself, which can actually be good when you think about depending the team comp that you use. So then that way, characters that are with him in the party don't necessarily have to babysit him because he can actually take care of himself. And then Wall, while he doesn't have an AoE provoke, for a tank, he actually provides a bit more utility than Snow because his shield or shining shield can actually be used on other party members to actually save them. And something that Wall does better than Snow is that when you're up against a boss that has an ability that targets all, I mean, everybody's going to be hit. So Snow doesn't really have any way of supporting the party when it comes to that. At least Warrior of Light can give Shining Shield to your other party members, so then that way, if an enemy is using an AoE ability, everybody is going to be absorbing that damage with the shield that Warrior of Light provides. So that's the differences between Snow and Warrior of Light. So is Snow good? Is he not good? Currently, as upon his release in Global, he actually is a good option as a tank. He's different. He's a little bit more aggressive. His team comps for him are going to be more focused on an aggressive style of gameplay because he is a self-sustaining tank, but he is a very good tank. So it really depends on your playstyle if you want to use Snow as a tank, but he is a pretty good tank upon his release with his level 60 Awakening and level 60 passives. So Snow pros and cons. So his pros are AoE provoke is amazing because it frees up your other party members from being targeted, so then that way they're free to do whatever they can as long as you don't have to deal with AoE damage. Snow can self-sustain himself, which allows other party members to focus on their roles better. So again, he doesn't need to be babysat for a tank. He can take care of himself. He has a good Brave Gain multiplier with Steel Guard when he gives himself that self-Brave battery based on 200% of his initial Brave. So that's a very good Brave Gain multiplier. And then that Brave Reduction Shield is turn-based rather than it being value-based, just like Warrior of Light Shield. So because it only has one variable, it's a little bit easier to maintain, and it doesn't mean you have to constantly keep spamming Steel Guard because it lasts for a while and the shield itself just gets stronger and stronger. So his cons is he doesn't provide any buffs to the party. So he's a bit selfish. Again, he takes care of only himself, but that's not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to considering that he's a tank, but he doesn't have really anything else that supports the party. Like he doesn't buff up anybody else's stats, he doesn't give somebody a shield or anything like that. And then he has a low max Brave and speed stat. The low max Brave does kind of hurt him because that means it kind of limits the amount of HP damage that he could deal. And then he does wield the Ice element, which can limit his usage if the enemy or the boss that you're up against does resist the element. So that's going to be Snow's pros and cons. So we're going to be getting the weapon banner like we mentioned earlier, which is going to be featuring 15 and 35 CPs for Snow, Penelo, and Firion. So both of Snow's gear is going to be improving his abilities. Same thing with Penelo's. Penelo, she actually gets an action delay lower for both of her abilities. And then for Firion, it just overall increases the usability for both of his weapons, especially his 35 CP Defender, which when now using Seize Attack Plus, it extends the duration and increases that max Brave up that he gives to himself. And now he also acts as a Brave battery with Seize Attack Plus, which is pretty cool for a damage dealing unit. So overall, should you pull on this banner? My thoughts is that, or my personal thoughts is that if you already have Warrior of Light built up as a tank, I would say probably pass. And another thing that you want to consider is that in the JP version of the game, okay, talking about the JP version, Snow's weapons are actually featured in multiple banners after this one. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities to be able to get Snow's gear. And also when Global eventually gets the weapon token system where we can actually exchange weapon tokens for 15 and 35 CP weapons, if you want to build up Snow that way and get his gear there, that's another way to get his gear. So we have plenty of opportunities to get his weapons. So my thoughts is I would probably pass on this banner. Now, if any of these characters are your favorites, and if you recently only started playing the game or you didn't have a chance to pull for any of these characters, you missed out, and one of these characters is your favorites, then by all means go ahead and pull, because the most important thing is that you're enjoying the game and that you're enjoying your favorite characters. But just from like a player standpoint, or like if you're free to play and you're looking to be able to contend with some of the more difficult content, I would say it's a pass on this banner, but it's really entirely up to you. Now we're going to take a look at the final thoughts and tips for this. So again, Snow suffers from a low max Brave stat, so max Brave plus 330 artifacts would help him, as well as attack plus 108, so then that way he hits harder with Frost Strike. The aggressive turtle is weak to the Ice element. So characters such as Snow, Papalimo, Onion Knight, Vaughn, and Cater all wield that element if you want to take advantage of that weakness. And then the Aggressive Turtle is a boss that's infamous for using high turn rate abilities. So despite it being a turtle, because it's aggressive, it actually attacks quite often, and it also increases its speed, and it has abilities where it can act almost immediately again, which is pretty dangerous. And he has that annoying retreat where he lowers the amount of physical and magic damage he receives. So something you could consider doing is bringing a debuffer to debuff its speed, so then that way you could slow it down a bit, and also debuff its defense, so then that way when it has that retreat status on it, you can still be able to deal enough sufficient damage to be able to deal with that particular ability. And then as far as future wise, Snow has yet to receive a rework, which is something that they started doing in the JP version of the game, where characters that already received their level 60 had a rework on their abilities, which made them a whole lot better. So Snow has yet to see this. So as far as a future investment, eventually, until they actually announce when Snow is going to be getting a rework in Japan, he will start to fall. But what's cool about tanks is that they're pretty good as far as being able to bring them for harder content. If you're lacking, like let's say a damage dealer or a support, and you need somebody to be able to at least soak in the damage, so then that way your other characters could be able to do their work. So that's the cool thing about tanks. But as far as like future investment wise, again, Snow doesn't have a rework yet, so future investment, it's a little bit on the low side, but if you still choose to build them up, then more power to you, because eventually he will be seeing a rework, as they are doing it for all characters in Dissidia Opera Omnia. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to some gameplay from my JP account. I'm going to be tackling the level 100 difficulty on Snow's hard mode for his lost chapters. That way you guys see a visual. I will be taking the synergy party, so let's go ahead and move forward to that. Alrighty guys, so here we are with my JP version of the game. We're going to be tackling the level 100 difficulty for the Lost Chapters Snow hard mode difficulty. So for this, my Firion is actually at his rework status. So Firion did get his rework in JP, so I'm going to leave his passives, but just keep in mind the abilities that you see for him are actually quite powerful now. So a treat for you Firion fans, for something for you guys to see. So yeah, and as far as Penelo, Penelo did not receive her level 60 awakening yet in global. So just for the purposes of the video, I went ahead and removed her 55 and 60 passives. But for Snow's, we're going to leave them on because he has yet to receive a rework. I'm going to take Shiva for my summon, and I'm going to take Lightning for a support unit. So let's go ahead and tackle this level 100 Lost Chapters for Snow. Here we go. Alright, so there's going to be 3 stages for this. We're going to start off with a Skull Dragon, or folks like to call him Skull Greymon, because he looks like Skull Greymon from Digimon. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and use Steel Guard, so you guys get to see it. Alright, so you see that Brave damage was quite mitigated. This boss only did like 300 something damage to Snow, which is pretty amazing how powerful that Brave reduction shield is. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and go with an HP attack here. And then for Firion, let's see what I'm going to do. Let's use his Blood Weapon Plus again. Again, remember, this Firion is reworked, so his abilities are a lot more powerful compared to what we have for Global. But again, a treat for you fans of Firion to see. And I do have Firion's EX weapon as well, which is something that we have yet to see in Global. So if we get to see his EX, I'll show it to you guys when we actually face the boss, which is the Aggressive Turtle. Alright, so we are almost there. So this is only 3 stages, which is shorter compared to some of the other level 100 Lost Chapters. And something surprising is there's only 1 turtle. Thank God there's only 1 turtle, because we know how annoying these turtles can be. Alright, so let's take a look at Firion's EX. So this is his EX, something he gets later on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and provoke here with Snow. And then let's just go ahead and replenish everybody's Brave and give some buffs with Penelo. Alright, and now let's check out his... Actually, yeah, you know what? Let's use Frost Strike. Why not? Okay, here's C's attack. Very, very cool. Blood Weapon Plus. Okay, we have his EX ready again, which is pretty cool. For Firion. So during this phase, for us global players, you could opt to bring a debuffer. That way, you could debuff its defense, because it does have a resistance up when it's in its retreat status against physical and magic attacks. All right, we're gonna go ahead and summon Shiva here. Okay. Frost Strike. And we're gonna refresh Steel Guard once the provoke debuff wears off on the boss. If the boss makes it that far. And again, this does look a lot easier right now in the JP version, especially because Firion does have his rework. But that is going to be the aggressive turtle right there. Because it's a singular boss, I don't feel like, even with what we currently have in Global, I don't feel like it's going to be too difficult, especially like if you're using Terra or even Noctis now that we have Noctis in Global. I don't really feel like it's going to be too difficult of a boss, but that is going to be the gameplay showcase right there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, you found it useful. Again, guys, thank you for watching my videos. If you guys have any suggestions for Dissidia Opera Omnia videos, I do have a Discord community as well as Twitter. I always leave those links in the video description as well as the pinned comments, so be sure to check those out and let me know what you'd like to see as far as Dissidia Opera Omnia content on the Broadway Sane YouTube channel. Alright guys, this is 40 signing out. Stay tuned for the next video, and mahal everyone.